Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you are in the world, and welcome to today's webinar. Discover the power and flexibility of an enterprise labeling solution built around Bartender barcode software, hosted by Peak-Ryzex and Bartender by Seagull Scientific. My name is Steve Paul. I'm your moderator today. We have just a few announcements before we begin. This webinar is designed to be interactive between you and our presenters, and later in the program we'll ask for your feedback. You can participate in our Q&A session by asking questions about the information presented in this webinar at any time. Just type your question into the Q&A text box located below the speaker bios on the left, and then click the Submit button. We'll answer as many questions as time permits after our presentation. Slides will advance automatically throughout the event, and you can download a PDF copy of the presentation by clicking on the resource box in the bottom left of our console. At this time, we recommend you disable your pop-up blockers. And if you're experiencing any technical problems, please visit our webinar help guide by clicking on the Help ? Icon on the bottom right of our console. If slides are not advancing, please press the F5 key on your keyboard to refresh your browser. And now on to our presentation, Discover the Power and Flexibility of an Enterprise Labeling Solution Built Around Bartender Barcode Software. Discussing today's topic will be Stephen Feinstein, Senior Solution Consultant, Enterprise Printing with Peak-Ryzex, Gary Hoggood, South Regional Sales Manager with Seagull Scientific, and we'll have Tyler Coleman, Technical Sales Specialist with Seagull Scientific. He'll join us during the Q&A. But first, I'd like to turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Steve. This is Stephen Feinstein with Peak-Ryzex. I am the Senior Solution Consultant for Enterprise Printing Solutions here at Peak-Ryzex. We're very glad to have you on the call today. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules. One of the things that we like to talk about here at Peak-Ryzex is Enterprise Printing Solutions, and this is actually the second in a series of webinars produced by Peak-Ryzex as well as its various vendors. Last time, if you were with us, you may recall we talked about color labeling solutions for industrial applications with our good friends over at Epson. And today, we're here to talk about enterprise labeling software solutions with our very good partner, Seagull Scientific, and their Bartender software solution. So we've already gone through the introductions already. Again, I'm a solution consultant, so I get to talk to all of our customers and work with them regarding their enterprise solutions. So we're going to talk about the relationship between Peak-Ryzex and Seagull Scientific, the complete solution, which is, of course, what we're all about here at Peak-Ryzex, not just the software, but everything that goes along with it to create enterprise-wide platforms. Of course, what is Bartender? Well, I could go ahead and make a joke about a guy walks into a bar, but I'll save you my attempts at comedy. And just to reiterate that when you think labeling software, you think Bartender, because it is one of the industry leaders, and of course we're very proud to be in partnership with them. We'll talk about the integration techniques and how Bartender can be used in more sophisticated, complex enterprise labeling solutions, as well as talk about some application examples, along with a summary and a chance for you all to ask your questions about software or enterprise labeling solutions. A little minute to talk about Peak-Ryzex as an organization. Founded back in the early 1980s. I actually began with the organization myself a long time ago in the mid-80s. It's been about 30 years now. We are a privately owned, capital-based company, but Keystone Capital Equity. Makes us very strong and profitable as well as growth. We've actually gone through a number of acquisitions where we continue to grow to our organization to this day. Of course, being a leader in the manufacturing and distribution and supply chain industries, we know that environment very well. So we can walk beyond the walls of the warehouse and understand what's going on within your production facilities and make recommendations and apply solutions that increase productivity and profit. With over 480-plus employees, I like to focus on the fact that there's quality and experience in all those employees. Many of us have 20, 30 years with the organization, whether it be field service engineers working on equipment out there that break fix, all the way on up to consulting and sales organizations and an internal organization to support all of that. Of course, we do have an international presence as well, and a large diversified customer base that includes the largest of the Fortune 500, as well as thousands of small and medium business and regional customers that we support on a regular basis. So we like to develop those partnerships And if you look at our corporate headquarters up top in Columbia, just below it, you'll see the Alpharetta, Georgia Managed Mobility Service area. And I was actually at this facility a few weeks ago and just wanted to talk about how impressed I was with their capabilities to be able to provide managed services, including things like help desk, staging, kitting of devices, managed services around handheld devices, even industrial as well as commercial and consumer devices like smartphones and tablets. And that goes all the way to carrier activations and telecoms expense management along with data usage analytics. So we can really help customers out not only with just enterprise printing, but with all kinds of managed services. At this point, I'd like to hand it over to Gary Haygood, my good friend from Seagull Scientific, just to go ahead and introduce Seagull Scientific to you as an organization. Gary?
Hey, thank you, Stephen. I really appreciate it, and we are glad everyone was able to attend the webinar today, and we hope to offer you some information to provide solutions and talk about enterprise labeling. First of all, I think it's really important to understand a little bit about the company that you do business with, so I'm going to start out and just give you a brief introduction to Seagull Scientific as a company. We were founded in 1985, and we're the developer of the Bartender software, and this is used for design and printing of labels, barcodes, RFID tags, and cards. When I say cards, I mean like ID cards that you use, at, say, checkout or something of that nature. So it's very functional, and all we do is software. We develop every dime, every thing that we spend is developing software in these areas. We offer 4 different editions, and we try to cover anything from a single station printing application to a full enterprise deployment. And everything we do will meet any industry standard that it's required of any label printing requirements out in the industry. We also have the ability to integrate with the major ERP applications out in the world, SAP, Oracle, and others. And what this does is it helps automate the printing process. Another really important factor about Seagull Scientific is we're the largest developer of Windows print drivers. We have almost, I believe it's a little over 3,000 right now that have been translated to support up to 20 different languages. And what these allow Bartender to do is address the various technologies and label printers that are out in the industry right now. We're also a global company, just like Peak-Ryzex. We offer sales and support on a global basis. We're headquartered in Bellevue, Washington. We also have regional offices in Europe, Asia Pacific, and Japan, and they also provide the same level of sales and support. Now, this is the exciting part for us. When you're looking at a total solution, there's a lot of moving pieces out here in an enterprise labeling application. And with Peak-Ryzex and the partnership we have with them, we've been doing this for over 15 years, so we know each other very well and our capabilities. And Peak is also, they're always a top 10. I'm just going to say it, they're a top 5 performer every year as a partner. So when we talk about a total solution, earlier you heard Steve mention all the different parts out there. Well, there are a lot of moving pieces in an enterprise labeling application or even a standalone. You've got the software, which could be Bartender. You've got the hardware, talking about printers. You have labels and media. You have technical support. And what's so great about our partnership is everybody is trained to a level that we know exactly what we're doing, and we have industry experts in every facet of these 4 pieces that make up a labeling or an enterprise labeling solution. So on a global basis, you're going to get support. If you have a printer down, you get support. If you need help from a technical standpoint, you have both of us. You have printers and hardware. You have the software expertise that we both provide you. Another thing that we also share in the industry is what we call strategic partnerships. If you look at this slide, you'll see a lot of printer manufacturers. You'll see some software ERP systems, and a lot of these companies require certifications. Probably 90% of these, both companies, Peak-Ryzex and Seagull Scientific, go through a yearly transformation of becoming certified within these industries. So with these, you get a complete solution with both companies. So from this point, now that you've learned a little bit about Seagull Scientific, I'm going to pass it back to Steve.
Thank you very much, Gary. Yes, we've been working with Seagull Scientific and their Bartender product for well over a decade now. I know myself, I've been working with it for over a decade now. It certainly has risen to become the leader in the enterprise printing space, but of course still offers products that can be used by any enterprise organization that needs label printing on site, whether it be integrated to host systems or just standalone. So when we talk about the complete solution of a labeling system, obviously there is the host PCs or servers that are involved. You obviously need labeling software. Again, in the old days, this was a very difficult thing to do. We had DOS-based systems that were very clunky, very hard to use, or dedicated only to a specific manufacturer of printer's data stream. Became a very constraining situation for most customers, and as a result, a lot of homebrew as well as a lot of conglomerated systems sort of evolved just to handle the labeling solutions within a production environment. Of course, this was very difficult to manage, and of course, as products aged and were no longer supported, became even more critical, especially to those mission-critical applications. So the labeling software became very important, and of course, those organizations like Seagull Scientific with their Bartender software rose to the challenge to get the software where it needs to be from those old clunky DOS-based systems to the very sophisticated systems we have today that, of course, go along with the Windows printer drivers that, of course, are the best in the industry, and we've certainly proved that time and again by utilizing Seagull Scientific drivers, even in non-Bartender applications. Then, of course, we have the printing component to it. Of course, that's my subject matter expertise, whether it be the thermal transfer, the inkjet, or the color. It's not just labels anymore either. Sometimes it's banners, sometimes it's cards. But, of course, all the things that go together to create a consultation that leads to a successful solution involves the professional services around integration, training, design, connection to systems, hardware maintenance, the printers themselves, scanners, mobile computers, wireless facilities, even RFID for those customers who are integrating that in their facilities. And, of course, it all comes down to what you're actually printing on, which is, of course, the media, whether it be labels or thermal transfer and direct, those RFID tags, and all the pieces that go along with that, like the ribbons, supplies, and support services moving forward. So we kind of break down these solutions into two categories, pretty much simple standalone applications, which may just be a PC running Bartender, printing labels for a specific application. Maybe it's connected to a spreadsheet or some kind of database. Maybe it's just done for ad hoc printing when I need a label here or there, pallets or cases, anything to help correctly identify products within the facility. And then moving on over to the more enterprise applications, which can be more complex because they typically involve Bartender and the drivers running on a server and acting as an entire repository for label templates as well as data connectivity to other systems like an ERP system. And of course, this can be used in a facility like a wireless warehouse with people walking around with handheld mobile computing systems, solutions on forklifts, handheld wearable solutions to track and trace products. Of course, they need to be able to print those labels either at fixed stations or with mobile printing devices or on forklifts, as well as maybe onto automatic application equipment that's used directly on a process or conveyor line. So, of course, all of this comes down to why we continue to print labels, and it's really all about barcodes. And, of course, like any technology that really works, barcodes really work. When you think about it, you pick up a phone, you get a dial tone, you can call somebody. You plug a lamp fixture into an outlet, you turn on the switch, the light comes on. When you come to expect that kind of reliability out of a technology, like you do with barcodes, you know that it works. So, of course, barcodes work, and they're going to be around for a long time, whether they be 1D or 2D barcodes, whether they're used for GHS or they're used for compliance for GS1 or unique identification for devices and device identification. All of these things come together to how you put together your enterprise solution. So as your requirements grow, is the solution scalable? So, of course, those old systems that we had in place or the conglomeration of 3 or 4 different labeling software packages running within my organization certainly doesn't work well as far as being scalable. So do you need it to be centralized or decentralized, or do you need both? So the modeling there is client-server or just basically client. So you need multiple sites, or are you printing just out of one site? Do you need color printing? Do you need to print to more than one printer type or brand? Because the language that you print to a printer is critical, even though there are lots of emulations these days. You want to make sure that you can plug and replace equipment easily simply by redirecting to another driver. So do you need advanced control for data entry forms or custom functions? If you have questions like this, then you know you need more than just the run-of-the-mill barcoding labeling software. Do you want to have interactive printing through a web interface or through mobile devices or phones or browsers? Do you want to be able to have a revision history of everything that's done within your printing in the organization? So with questions like that, it leads us to looking at a product like Seagull Scientific's Bartender software. So what is Bartender? Well, it's basically a platform for creating enterprise-wide labeling solutions. So it gets you through for your products in the supply chain. This is, in many cases, mission critical. You've got to get the right medication to the right patient. You have to have hazardous materials labeled properly. You need to have foodborne illness information put on food packaging. Whatever it takes, you typically are either dealing with either a mandatory regulatory compliance or you're dealing with a production enhancement to improve productivity within your facility and improve improve profit. So some of the features that Bartender provides as an enterprise platform, because it's not just a design and print program, is the powerful design and intelligent templates. In fact, Bartender refers to their templates now as documents. So when you hear me use the term Bartender document, you'll know I'm talking about something that was created in Bartender and stored under the .btw format. Well, the features that you have beyond just creating a label template is all of the things you can do to manipulate the template or the data within the template. So what you have is unparalleled support for things like doing barcoding, graphics control, comprehensive automation control in how you make Bartender work, adding things like serialization or print time information through a form or from a scanner or a keyboard input or even a camera if you're doing card applications. And that integration piece that we talked about earlier on in the agenda, how to connect Bartender to other systems and other databases. And that might include ERP systems like SAP or Oracle or SQL-based applications that are out there, and most business systems that can output a file directly. Even RFID support, of course, that's become an important piece in a labeling software to make sure that for those printers that are RFID capable, that we can encode and read those tags. Providing the card design, which is a two-sided or magnetic stripe smart card encoding for perhaps retail or buyer incentive programs. And of course, technical support for the industry is big for a software product to have. And with Seagull, as your business grows, Seagull grows as well, and the support is always there from both Seagull Scientific as well as Peak-Ryzex. Excuse me, I'm just waiting for the next slide to come up. Let me try that again. I seem to be having a little trouble. Here we go. Okay, so I want to continue on. Having a little trouble with the internet here. When we talk about Bartender, there are actually 4 editions, and they meet the demands of most customers from simple all the way up to the complex enterprise level. Basically starting out with the basic edition, which is great for home use if you just want to print out some address labels or print out little stamps that you need at home. But for the professional edition, that certainly adds more features, being able to read from a comma-separated value files or a database like an Excel file. So if you were printing out more than just a single address and wanted to print out a whole bunch of them, you could easily use the data connectivity. And you can encode RFID labels with it as well, typically used in a standalone application licensed per the PC. So this is licensed by the individual workstation that has the software loaded onto it, and can print to as many printers as you have connected to that printer or available to it without any restriction, but it only works on that one PC. From there, we move on up to the higher level editions for Bartender, and they include the Automation Edition as well as the Enterprise Automation Edition. So in the Automation Edition, you get all those professional features, plus you get the connectivity to be able to print directly in response to software development kit requests and command line requests, intelligent templates, and have a secure environment for the most part without having to have all the bells and whistles on board, and also be able to have a history of system usage. These are licensed by the printer, so you count out how many printers you will actually be using with the application. So, of course, that's only printers that you print to from Bartender itself, and they are managed via a Seagull licensed server on your network or on an individual PC if necessary. We prefer that on the server. And, of course, that maintains the licensing for either 3 or 5 or 10 or 100 or even thousands of printers, as this is a completely scalable solution. In the highest level, which is what we typically use and recommend for enterprise-level applications, the Enterprise Automation Edition gives you all the automation features, plus the Android and iOS support, the Print Portal application, which is web printing, which is great for decentralized applications where you need to print off-site somewhere to another printer. You also have the capability to have responses to web services as well as TCP/IP direct socket communication with the Enterprise Automation Edition, and this gives you more flexibility with connection to ERP systems directly without having to use drop files. Integration with SAP and Oracle, certainly the Enterprise Automation Edition would be a must for that. And also you can take advantage of all of the browser-based printing, centralized template manage, all of the modules that go along with enterprise printing to maintain a secure printing environment. Okay, this brings us to the application suite itself. There are a number of pieces to it. Of course, one of them being the Bartender design and print application, which is pretty much what your designers will use, and anyone who's going to interact directly with Bartender, maybe printing from a workstation, would work from. Very simple to use, very intuitive. But it's what's layered around that that makes Bartender the real preeminent enterprise labeling software package out there. And this includes modules like the Administration Console, where you can manage all of the security of the system, manage system databases, have the integration capabilities and the Windows services, and be able to manage file locations. Along with that, there's a number of other modules that go along with Bartender that can be used for a various number of situations that require direct printing. One of them is Print Station, which is a very simple print shell that can be used. There's Batchmaker, which allows you to go ahead and create batches of jobs from multiple Bartender documents that allows you to send them all in one shot. The Librarian module goes into workflow process and revision control for all of your label templates. Very important if you're in a regulated environment. Even modules like the History Explorer and Reprint Console can be used to go backwards in time and look at what you've done and perhaps reprint or look at data within a specific label. Even the Print Portal being used for web-based services and the Printer Maestro for printer queue management are all pieces of the Bartender module suite. Okay, so I'm on 16. In the Administration Console, you get items for security. The Bartender system database is actually a SQL Server instance that's created by Bartender that allows for storage of important information and everything that goes on within Bartender, which is leveraged by the other modules within the system. Of course, we also have our integrations, our Windows services, and our file locations. So looking at each one individually in the Security Administration Console, you can go ahead and enable and disable Bartender security for individual users, and this is all based on Active Directories. So fairly easy for IT users to set up specific work groups that are allowed or disallowed for specific applications. And that is very granular to the point where you can really go down to very specific features within the application to allow or disallow actions. So it's very important for locking down a production environment. You can even enable electronic signatures and set encryptions for Bartender documents. In the system database, again, we talked about being able to log all of that information for maintenance and administrative tasks and utilized by the rest of the modules for information. In the integrations, Well, you have a full set of integrations that can be deployed. They can be tested locally and then deployed to specific servers, so that once a integration is created, it can be tested using live data, and that can be run, started, or stopped as an integration within the system for production. And of course, for Windows services, you can start and stop all of the services related to Windows. Makes it very easy to do. And of course, for file locations, if you need to place files in different locations other than defaults, very simple to do within the application. All right, when it comes to the design portion, this is one of the nicest, easiest, most intuitive features of the application, because it's just like any other Windows application you might sit down in front of, even though it has a lot of power behind it. So when you talk about simple to use, well, we talk about the WYSIWYG, the Microsoft experience, how easy it is to have multiple documents up on the same page, to be able to work with the printers of your choice based on Windows drivers that are installed. You can obviously need to accept data from any source, so whether that be from an Excel file or an Access database or even from an ERP system. So the idea here is to create generic templates that are used for lots of applications, rather than, unfortunately, the way a lot of customers have done it in the past is to build up entire libraries of individual labels for specific applications or specific customers, when, if you take a look at the situation from a whole, the application could be done using a standard set of generic templates that we dynamically change graphic or information or logo information on in order to be able to meet the needs. So you also need security so that you can lock down sensitive parts of the label or design template. So by having that philosophy, a program like Bartender gives you all of the flexibility and features to create label templates like that. So what you end up with is a WYSIWYG design area. Very simple to use, very intelligent and intuitive. So you can make the template smart through conditional statements that can actually be done manually through the template without any knowledge of Visual Basic scripting code. Although you do have the capability of adding VB scripting to templates for conditional printing or for modification of data within a template itself. So a lot of that conditional printing becomes very powerful when you realize you don't have to be a programmer to get what you need done in many cases. And that's the great thing about Seagull Scientific, is that they've designed and built their software to be intuitive so we understand the needs of the customer and what they're looking to do. So in many cases, when you either use a wizard within the application or walk through a process, the defaults that are set by the software are pretty much what you're probably going to want to go with, because that's the way 99.9% of customers would do that particular feature. And that's a great thing to have when you talk about intelligent software, that it keeps me out of trouble that way and keeps me on the right path. So, of course, we have all the same support you would have before in other versions of Bartender, including the international characters, the GS1 barcode wizards for creating all of your application identifiers, and, of course, all of the barcode and RFID support for 1D and 2D symbologies. Of course, having serialization is important when you're talking about production, and you have individual labels with individual serial numbers, or perhaps rolling counts for serialization on labels or cartons. Of course, all of the standard and custom fonts that are available or printer available. This color support is important as we go into GHS and other types of color labeling solutions that Bartender can support. So lots of features here: the connection to databases, scales or cameras, the data entry forms for manual entry input, all the things that you'd come to expect from a high-level application. One of the features that is great as an extra module to Bartender is the PrintStation module. This actually allows you to create an end-user experience that only the templates that can be printed by a particular operator are actually seen in a lockdown window. And they can simply select on the appropriate template, which is, of course, stored in a folder or folders that may be relevant to specific aspects of their job. And this allows you to run Bartender in the background without the end user actually interacting with the label template or any specifics about the dialogue for print dialogue screens and things that you might want to lock down. So it allows them to browse the Bartender documents that are important to them as a thumbnail, give them any print dialog information that they may require, also any manual input prompts that they could either scan information into or type information into, preview that document, and then go ahead and print that document directly. So very nice for production applications where you pretty much want to lock down the use for the operator just to be able to print specific templates without interacting with Bartender design and print software directly. The Batchmaker application allows you to actually accumulate a number of Bartender documents into one specific job, or we would consider that a batch, which creates a new file extension. So each time that batch is run, actually there would be instances of Bartender run in the background that would actually open up each one and print them either connected to their data or with manual input at the time of print. So an example of this might be something like on a picking and packing line for packing up a box. You may have a thermal transfer printer that prints out a shipping label. You may have a laser printer that prints out a packing list that's going to go inside the box. And then maybe in that same laser printer, you also have a drawer that has thank you cards in it, and you want to print a thank you card at the same time. By actually connecting all three of these documents, these Bartender documents, into one batch job and sent to the printer would print out each one of these things for a specific record that it was printing. It would print out the shipping label, the packing list, and the thank you card all together at the same time. So it's a handy little feature to have when you have to have multiple simultaneous functions occurring, even with multiple printers. What we see here is the librarian feature. This is another module that leverages the Bartender system database we talked about earlier. And this is really important for customers who need to really lock down the control of the label documents that they manage for their production as well as test environments. So by creating a workflow process that involves a number of different individuals who may have to sign off on a particular label as the design progresses onto finally a production label template that's used in the facility, you may have label designers, you may have label administrators, you may have print-only personnel who are just printing the labels on a print line. And by setting the rights and accesses through the librarian workflow process, you can actually move a label document through a process from draft all the way into revision as well as into final production or acceptance mode where it would then go into production. The important key thing here is that this maintains and manages a revision control of label formats and other files, including comments about what was done to that label template and who did it via electronic signature when they logged in and checked a particular label document out of the library, as the name implies, or checked it back into the library again and changed the status of that particular label template. So you have a full history that is perfect for compliance needs or managing any label printing solution system, especially in the medical and pharmaceutical industries, as they have very highly secure environments. This also includes military and high-risk chemical environments as well. So it's important to, if you need that compliance, the tools are there within the librarian module and the security module to create a completely locked down solution. Waiting for the next slide to come up here. Here, the ancillary modules like History Explorer. This is very helpful for logging all of the information that occurs during Bartender, whether it be an error message or a print job that occurred or didn't occur, or any other false situations that occur that IT may need to know about, or excess traffic. So you also have the ability to do permission checks for security, and if you need to reprint labels, and of course that's better shown by the next module, which is the Reprint Console, which again leverages just like the History Explorer, but more focused towards reprinting labels from a given set going back in time. And of course you can set the level of a database capability for how much you're going to store in there and purge it when necessary on an automatic or a manual basis. So this allows you to go ahead and select even a specific label within a specific label set that was printed, show you the data that was actually in that label, and give you a rendered image of that label before printing it out to that same printer or even to another printer on the same network if necessary. So great for having to print out labels that you don't want to have to go back and redo a transaction for, or go back into the system to generate a replacement label for one that may have just fallen off or gotten damaged. Well, next up is the more complex information regarding integration to other systems. And of course, Bartender is well known for its capabilities for integrating into ERP systems or other systems under the control of what used to be called their Commander interface. And if you've worked with Bartender in the past, you're probably familiar with that, the Bartender and the tasks that were created within the Commander interface to leverage Bartender in the background on a server. Well, Seagull has taken that one step further and created the complete integrated package where Commander is no longer a separate module running on its own. It's now integrated directly into the Bartender application. So when you have Bartender running on a server, you also have the full integration capability built right into that server instance. So this gives you the ability to create those highly customized integrations to ERP systems or anything that can provide data to us from another application. So this involves triggering an event to occur, and this can be in the form of an email or a dropped file or a TCP/IP connection in the case of the enterprise automation package, or even a change of a record addition or a change in a database record. So you can actually have the integrations monitoring databases as well. So you have all the standard connectivity that you need to get with clients, whether it be a TCP/IP or UDP or HTTP. And of course, this gives us file operations, moving, renaming, deleting, copying. So we have that ability to deal with permissions within the group, and gives us the ability to directly integrate with ERP systems. And whether that be SAP or Oracle or even IBM WebSphere or even any other ERP system on the market that has the ability to output data file from a transaction, you can utilize the integration builder to build complex label templates that are filled with data from an ERP system and triggered by that system without any interaction. Okay, we did integration. Along with Integration Builder, just waiting for a slide to come up, bear with me. Here we go. The Print Portal module. This is an application that allows a smartphone or a tablet or web-based devices to choose label templates. Think of it as a print station over the web. And the ability to complete print time data at the time of printing, so getting pop-up screens to enter data or launching a print job to a printer that's anywhere on the internet. So also providing strong security, utilizing web services to make sure that label printing across the web is secure. One more module to talk about is the Printer Maestro. This is actually a very convenient way for IT departments or office managers to maintain how much printing is going on by looking at the print queues available. In the old days, what you'd have to do in Windows if you wanted to look at multiple printers was you'd have to open up individual Windows queue windows in your screen, and by the time you've got 4 or 5 of those up, you can't tell which one is which anymore or where the jobs are going. So Printer Maestro has sort of taken all that information and put it together into one graphical user interface screen that allows you to see activity of all the printers that you're printing to from Bartender based on the network connectivity that they have. So very handy to have for managing problems, what printer's up, what printer's down, and if a printer has a problem anywhere. But one of the things we've been talking about so far is the Windows drivers that Seagull uses, and we talked about that earlier on and how they are the leaders in Windows drivers for the thermal transfer printing and, of course, label design printing applications. And we've been using them for many, many years, and we rely on them very heavily. They certainly give us the functionality not only with Seagull Scientific Bartender software, but with just about any Windows program. Anytime I run into an issue where a customer is having a problem printing from something other than Bartender and they're using another driver, we always recommend using the Seagull Scientific driver because we know they work time after time and they're very stable. And of course, when used with the Bartender design and print software, you really can take advantage of all of the features like the serialization, real-time clock features within a printer, the printing of RFID tags, the smart codes and magnetic stripes for card printing, being able to optimize templates on the memory of a printer if you need to. So all the things that you really can't do with other applications or with other drivers, and all these things are used to go ahead and keep us making sure that we have the right templates in place and that we know what we're doing in our enterprise printing to optimize printing so that it prints faster and more productive. Very good. When we talk about integration services at Peak-Ryzex, we've had many years of enterprise-level integration practice with Bartender and with ERP solutions, including SAP, Oracle, whether they be XML or proprietary. We, of course, can provide as much or as little as you need. We do a lot of training around Bartender, where we guide customers through the process of getting Bartender started, and making sure that they get off on the right foot, but we can also provide more detailed integration and consultation around Bartender and its installation and its integration to solutions. One of the things that we also have that sets us apart and makes us unique is we have the capability to create front-end custom applications for end users. So by utilizing Bartender in the background, we can leverage its capabilities, features, and create a custom application just for a customer's need by creating their screens the way they need them, or adding VB scripting to it, or designing the label templates for a specific application by consolidating into one or two templates from many. So we have that capability. We've actually done that many times. If you check on our website, we have a case study for a company called Lindy Gas, where we did a GHS application that included color label printing along with the Bartender software and a custom front-end solution to allow them to generate their labels by simply typing in their product information into a system and scanning a barcode on a work order sheet. So a lot of that can be done. Just talk to us about that, and we can provide a consultation on any kind of custom application. But a lot of training is also done as well for the end users, the managers, the help desk, IT or ERP developers, and of course support after the sale, whether it's involving the installation or the use of Bartender. And of course Seagull Scientific has great support as well. We always rely on them and their quick response. So as a quick review, we saw that there are the 4 additions to Bartender. For most customers, you'd be looking at least the professional version to get yourself started in labeling in industrial environments. And of course, for the most complex solutions and integrations, the Enterprise Automation package provides all the features and all the modules that we talked about within the presentation to give you that full enterprise printing solution package. The versions available, obviously there is now the new Bartender 2016. We still have the version 10.1, Service Release 4. That was the last release for that version. So we are seeing many customers upgrade now to Bartender 2016. There is migration paths available for you to move up to it, as well as moving any commander tasks you may have. Bartender has created an integration tool that walks through converting those into the new integration builder format. So you have the ability to upgrade from lower editions, add printer licenses at any time you need. Remember, the automation and enterprise automation applications are licensed by the number of printers you print to. So you can meet your compliance goals by utilizing the modules within Bartender, and Peak-Ryzex can assist you there, whether it be GHS or CFR Part 11 for compliance, and all those integration services and experience that make all the difference when putting together an enterprise labeling package. So with that, I'll go ahead and wrap up, and we'll go ahead into the question and answer section. We have Gary and Tyler on the call as well. I want to thank you all for your time, and let's go to the question section now. Steve?
All right. Thanks very much. Excellent presentation, Stephen. Before we go to our audience Q&A, though, we'd like to just ask our audience to please fill out the feedback form that is located in an icon on the bottom of your console. To complete the form, please press the Submit Answer button at the bottom of the page. We want to thank you in advance for filling out this form. Your participation in our survey will allow us to serve you better in the future. And now on to the question and answer portion of our event. As a reminder, to participate in the Q&A, just type your question into the text box located on the bottom left of our console and then click the Submit Question button. And it looks like we have time for a few questions, so let's get started here right away. We have a question here from Lou, who wants to know, will Bartender integrate with Microsoft D365? I'd like to take that.
Tyler, do we have you on the call?
Yeah, so I can hop in here and talk to this a little bit. So yeah, you can integrate with a wide variety of systems, including Microsoft Dynamics. So D is Dynamics in this question here. And it really depends on how you'd want to integrate based on your requests on what you need to do. So we can do the integration for sure, but how you want to do the integration, that would be a deeper conversation that would be handled offline.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Let's see. Jennifer has a question. We currently embed printer code language into our application software for the printing of labels. What advantage does a solution like Bartender offer? I'd like to go there.
I can take this one as well.
Okay, go ahead.
So a lot of people do embed printer code templates into like their ERP systems, such as SAP. There are some advantages to doing this, but there are also a lot of disadvantages. One being that you're stuck with the same design, and if you want to make a change to it, you're going to have to rebuild that design by either paying somebody, if you don't have somebody on your staff, to build the new printer code for you, or you have to have some design software such as Bartender and then export the design of a label template into printer code and then upload that into your print system. That can be done, but again, it becomes very cumbersome if you need to use features like we touched on today, like conditional printing. You do not have the option to use conditional functionality because all of your printer code is created ahead of time. So you have to switch or make multiple iterations of the same label design and upload multiple printer code templates into your system and call those printer codes. And whenever you need to make a change to one or maybe many of those labels, you have to rebuild that printer code from scratch rather than just saving a label design. And Bartender print's a little bit different than that. We touched on this a little bit as well. So a typical Bartender print process is somebody creates a label inside of Bartender, various ways to execute a print request. I'll talk about a very manual process here. So if we're in the designer itself and we wanted to print a label, we'd go to File, Print. We would select the Windows driver for that printer that's available, and that could be any number of Windows drivers. We don't really care as long as it's a Windows driver. Select that printer, hit Print. It builds the printer code based on the driver that we've selected and then sends it off to the printer from there. So Bartender is very flexible. The other disadvantage to printer code is that printer code is built for your system in a specific language. So let's say you wanted to change your printer hardware out. So you wanted to go from maybe a Zebra printer to a Sato printer or Intermec printer or something of that nature. Or you want to use multiple printers in your environment that operate under different languages. That becomes a lot of printer code templates you have to build and upload and manage in that host system like SAP. Whereas you make one design change inside of Bartender, save the label, and you can use it across all those printers without any other necessary changes to SAP or one of the other systems. So hopefully that kind of covers at a high level some of the advantages and disadvantages of using printer code when compared to like a typical Bartender print process.
Okay, thanks very much. Let's see. I think we have another question here. Let's see. Bill wants to know, is Bartender a printing solution for labels that require color? Maybe Stephen?
Yes. We've had a lot of success lately with implementing Bartender with color industrial label printing devices, whether they be inkjet or color laser, mainly for the GHS and chemical industries. But yes, we have the capability not only to print from Bartender to those devices using either a Seagull scientific driver or a Windows driver provided by the printer manufacturer. And this also allows for conditional color printing as well. So whether it comes down to how many diamonds you need for a GHS label, or whether or not you need different color blocks put on a label for tracking or for identification of a label. So that can all be done dynamically with Bartender.
Great, thank you. And then let's squeeze in this last question from Angela. When using PrintStation in version 10, it takes a long time for the format to load and print. In BT 2016, has this been improved?
And I can take this question here. It has been improved. We have done a lot of different changes within PrintStation. However, even in version 10, it shouldn't be that slow of a process. So that might be more of a technical related issue based on a driver problem or something that would cause kind of a slowdown inside of the software. Trying to reach out to a printer driver, for example, would be one of the kind of common causes of something like that. But it has been kind of overhauled for Bartender 2016 as well. And I can tell you it's been nothing but quick in my experience, even a little bit quicker than version 10. So I would see you should get at least a little bit of improvement there, but that might be not the main root cause of the problem you're running into in version 10.
Thank you, Tyler. This is Stephen Feinstein. Yeah, I just want to add to that, when you talk about Bartender 2016, that it is now a true 64-bit application running in the Windows environment. So, of course, we get all of the speed and the power that is associated with that.
Good point, Stephen.
Okay, outstanding. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this live session. So if we didn't get to your question during the broadcast, someone will follow up with you over the next few business days. And we want to, again, thank you all for attending today's webinar, Discover the Power and Flexibility of an Enterprise Labeling Solution Built Around Bartender Barcode Software, hosted by Peak-Ryzex, and Bartender by Seagull Scientific. Shortly after this live event, we'll send you an email reminder so you can access this presentation on demand. And on behalf of our guests, Stephen Feinstein, Senior Solution Consultant, Enterprise Printing with Peak-Ryzex, Gary Haygood, South Regional Sales Manager with Seagull Scientific, and Tyler Coleman, Technical Sales Specialist, also with Seagull Scientific, we want to thank you for your time, and have a great day.